Hello, everybody. It is Deanna, and today we are doing a full day workshop. We're going to be doing 4 different workshops in a full day. So before I get started, just a couple housekeeping tips for the way that today is going to run is we're going to hold questions until the end of each segment. After each segment, we are going to take a break. So don't feel like you've got to sit through this whole thing. You're never going to get a break. You can't go get a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, whatever you want. We are going to take breaks in between. Each segment is going to run about 45, 50 minutes. We'll do Q&A at the end. If you have questions while I'm in the middle of the presentation, going through all the information, there is a chat that you can start to chat. There's a little chat box on your screen. If you click on that, please feel free to ask that question. I will go back at the end and answer all the questions that you guys have. So we're going to get started. I'm going to do my screen share over here. Okay, and here we go. And welcome for coming to Women Entrepreneurship, Pushing Boundaries and Breaking the Rules. I hope you downloaded the workbook that I sent out, and there are some places where you can take notes and fill in the gaps and do all sorts of fun things. So we're just going to go through today. What we're going to be talking about is let's see here. Here we go, today's presentation. All right, already technical glitches. Good. Anyhow, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me for those of you who don't know who I am. We're going to then go and talk about women entrepreneurship today and what that looks like as opposed to what it has looked like and where women entrepreneurship is going. We're going to talk about also about how women are wired and how men are wired. And this is so important. And I just shared, in fact, just a few minutes ago, I was sharing that even though this presentation is called Women Entrepreneurship, Pushing Boundaries and Breaking the Rules, if I change the title, men can actually benefit from this as well, because the truth is we are wired differently. So we're going to talk about what those strengths are, about how men and women are wired and what those differences are. And then we're going to tell you how to use that information and let's just, push some boundaries and break the rules. So a little bit about me. I am Deanna Hins. I'm also Sassy Girl Entrepreneur, and I have Sassy Girl Media, which is a digital marketing agency. I made a decision about 12 years ago to leave a corporate job and launch an at-home business as a single mom. So this was not something that I had planned for a long time to do. This was something that happened unexpectedly. Some things came up and I needed to make a decision of where my priorities lied, and I made that decision to cut back my hours and to start an at-home business. And it was extremely difficult. I'm not going to pretend. I mean, entrepreneurship as a whole is not for the faint of heart. It's tough and it's stressful at times, and it's also super rewarding as well. At this time, though, when I was just leaving, I had no idea. Like I said, didn't have a game plan figured out. I had no clue what I was going to do, but I decided to do this, and I used my own budget to do this. And when I added this line in this presentation, I kind of laughed because, to be really honest with you, my budget was like zero. There was nothing in my budget. I had just enough money to pay my bills for just a little while. I was not that person that put 6 months in. I wish I were at that time. I am now because, live and learn. But at that point, I was really just putting a few dollars away. So I had no budget to really launch a business. And looking at everything was probably a really crazy idea at the time, but I'm really glad that I took that leap. I launched my business with no money. I had to figure out how to grow it, and I turned to social media. So at this point, social media was still kind of a kid's playground, as I was told. And most people, actually somebody told me that I would never be taken seriously if I was on social media only. And it's kind of funny how things work out, because it worked for me. Using social media, was actually Facebook and Twitter at the time. Not only did I grow my business, but I started shipping my product nationwide and I gained corporate accounts. I was doing a lot better than I expected. And to top it off, I was awarded Top Mom in Business by Startup Nation and Discover Card at that time, which even allowed me to gain some more national attention, which was really cool, and also allowed me to open up the gates where I was able to help other people do the exact same thing. At that time, I didn't really know what I did that worked. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know if it would just work for me or if it would work for others. So 12 years ago, I started doing these workshops, and I'm continuing to do these workshops and these trainings. I am a digital marketing strategist and coach. I'm also a certified success coach. So we're going to be talking about women entrepreneurship today and what that looks like. I'm going to open it up with really just the facts. So in the United States right now, there are 12.3 million women-owned businesses. When I saw that number, and I've done this presentation for a while, but when I saw that number, it continues to grow, and it just gets me really excited because, ladies, we are making a really big impact. This is 114% more than it was 20 years ago. So women entrepreneurship is looking so much different. We're being taken more seriously. We are finding that confidence to take that leap and to start our own businesses. And the numbers are showing it. We are continuing to grow. Here are some more numbers. Women-owned businesses generated $1.8 trillion per year. That's a lot of money. That's pretty impressive. 40% of the US businesses are women-owned. Get this. Every day last year, almost 1,800, we'll say 1,800 businesses started. Now this is net because even more businesses started, and of course some businesses die off, but there was 1,821 businesses every single day last year that started, which is so impressive. I love seeing that. 62% of women entrepreneurs cite that their business is their primary source of income. I'm not sure if your business, if you're an entrepreneur, if this is your primary source of income or not. I can tell you that it is mine. And the majority of the women that I do work with, that this is their primary source of income, whatever they are currently doing in their business. Now, here's some information that's still just not so great about women in business right now. They're 21% less likely than men to feel optimistic about how their business will perform this year. And I do see that. It's when I talk to a lot of women entrepreneurs initially, and I don't really know if it's optimism, but there's just that confidence isn't there about how they're going to do. It's a little wishy-washy, I guess I should say. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but it's a little bit wishy-washy with it. But 21% feel less confident about how their business is going to perform. And I'm going to tie that in a little bit later on why I think that is. 25% of women don't believe that they have a strong sales plan for the year. And that kind of goes along with what I just said about being that wishy-washy, right? A lot of women, I mean, even launching, are not coming up with a game plan or a strategy. They're coming up with an idea and they're saying, okay, let's just go and let's just see what happens. And there's really no strategy. Or they just continue to keep doing what they've done in the past that has worked. And maybe that's okay for you to do this year, but it's going to catch up with you. So you really want to come up with a strong sales plan of what you plan to do, and plans change. So, I mean, if things change, that's okay. Like, things do come up and change. A product line changes, a services change, whatever that is. I mean, it will happen, but come up with some sort of strategy or plan. Women are more likely to be concerned about funding, right? And I think this kind of ties into the fact that when women start a business, okay, women are typically, they have less finances than men. So when women are starting a business more times than not, when I'm meeting with them, and if they have a spouse or a significant other in the relationship, typically it's seen as a hobby, and it's kind of taken not as seriously, right? It's, the tone is, you know what, yes, this is great, you're starting a business, let me know when you're serious, let me know when you're making money. Now if a man was going to do this, it's taken more seriously, where typically the woman would get behind the man and start helping and start, just jump in and help grow this business. So we do that, I think, a lot of the times because we don't have as much money, we're not taking it seriously. And again, we're going to talk about some real facts in coming up that's going to tie into why this is. Now, even though we as women are more concerned about funding, only 25% of us actually seek business funding. And again, maybe it's because it may tie into it as us only looking at it as a hobby, or it can tie into some of this other information. I can't wait to share with you. If you can't tell, like, I just want to tell you all these facts, because all of these statistics, once I share how we're wired, it's all going to make much more sense. So I'm really excited to share that. But only 25% of us seek business funding, which is it's a low number. I thought this fact was really interesting. When it comes to future business success, women look to the product and men look to their team as being the main factor. And I had to read that a few times initially. And I kind of processed it thinking, gosh, did I do that? Like, do I look more at, in a sense, my service, or do I look at my team? So I was guilty of this. I don't know if you're guilty of this or not, but I found that to be a very interesting fact. Organizations with a higher percentage of women in leadership roles perform better financially, right? I mean, we've got some killer strengths. I'm going to share with you a story now, and I don't know if you've heard this story, but it's been around for a while. It is a true story. This is a tweet by Martin Schneider, and he kind of shared about a story about Nikki Nax, right? There was a girl that he worked with her name was Nikki, and Martin and Nikki worked together in New York City. And if you go and look this up, you can probably still find the tweets. They've had a lot of different articles written about them, about this accidental study. But Nikki and Martin worked together, and what they were doing was they wrote resumes, and it was more of a copywriting industry, but they did it out of a penthouse of their boss. So they had a variety of employees there, but not too many. It was a small business. They would go every day and go into their boss's penthouse, and they would have little workstations set up, and they would rework resumes for clients. Now, Nikki and Martin were hired to do the same thing. And it was a little, Martin was hired just a little bit before, but made more money than Nikki did when he came on as opposed to when she came on. However, they kind of came down hard on Nikki because she just wasn't getting the response that Martin was. Martin was doing so much better. His turnaround time was great. The clients loved him. They thought he was doing a really, really good job, and they always were complimenting him. And he was pretty much the ideal employee. Nikki struggled. Nikki just really, really had a hard time because her clients were always needing their resumes reworked. They weren't as good. I believe she even mentioned somewhere that at one point, they even asked if she was an idiot because she just couldn't get it right, and she didn't know what she was doing wrong. It took her twice as long to get through her workload than Martin. So Martin's whipping through it and Nikki's struggling. So one day, Nikki made the decision to go over and talk to Martin and say, can you take a look at what I'm doing? Like, what am I doing wrong? And I believe actually that Martin's boss said, look over her and guide her because you know what you're doing and she's clearly struggling. So Martin did. He he took a look at everything and he couldn't really understand what she was doing wrong. It looked great. Now, the way that everything was set up in this business was that they shared an email client. So, and what I mean is that the software they were using was the same email, but they were able to log into different. So Martin was able to sit at his desk and switch and go into Nikki's email account, and Nikki could do the same. So Martin did that to take a look at all the resumes that she was doing and really couldn't pinpoint what was wrong. You know, gave her a couple tweaks, but then that was pretty much it. So what ended up happening was, and this was only over a 24-hour period, Martin started getting pushback on his resumes, and people were complaining that he wasn't doing a good job. It took him a little longer, and they were questioning his abilities, and he couldn't understand where this was coming from because he had the same clients, and all of a sudden there were issues that weren't there before, and he didn't change anything until he noticed that he never logged out of Nikki's account, and he was actually responding using her email address. Now, one day doesn't mean that this is the way it always is, because things can happen, and it maybe he was kind of like not doing what he was supposed to. But Martin approached Nikki, shared the information with her, and just said, would you be interested in doing a small little experiment? And what that experiment was is they were going to switch emails. They were going to handle the same clients that they had been handling for some time now, but they were going to let them know that that they had somebody else would be handling their account, even though they weren't. Nobody was. They were still handling their own account. So what do you think happened, right? The same thing happened. Nikki was getting through the work really fast. People loved her, no complaints. Martin, on the other hand, double work. It took him a long time to get things done. People were complaining, questioning everything that he did. He'd send it out to a client. They'd come back with a whole list of things they wanted revised because it wasn't good enough. So Martin made this tweet, right, of how impossible that he learned how impossible it was for professional women to get the respect they deserve. He realized that they were treated differently, at least in that industry. And I don't know about you, but I've been treated differently as well because I'm a woman. And just recently, in the MLB, there is a pitching coach, and she actually just used a short version of her name, which came off as a man name. And I wish I could remember her name right now, but I will be talking about her more. I just want to read her story a little bit more. But when she switched her name from her full name to the shorter, Ray, and I can't remember her full name, but the nickname she went to was Ray. She got the job. She got an interview. So there is some truth to this. But let's talk about success and failure, okay? So in your workbook, I've included a sheet, and I've asked you to think of a time that you failed. Now, if you're doing this afterwards and you're watching the replay, then, take some time, pause this, and really think about a time that you failed. And what was it? So after you think about what that time was, maybe you did an event, maybe you did a launch, maybe, you were setting up something of some sort, right? I guess a product launch and event is most of the things that an entrepreneur will be doing, but say it didn't go well. And why did it not go well? And then I want you just to write a few bullet points about why you think that is. Now I want you to think of a time when you found success, right? You planned that event and it went off, and we're just going to use an event for sake of telling a story, but you did an event and it was amazing. Everything went well, huge success, right? So why did it go so well? So here's the way men and women are wired, one of the differences. So when a woman, if there is an event and she did really great with this event, right? So let's just say that I was having this new launch party and I planned it out and it was flippin' amazing. Everything was perfect. And if you came up to me and said, you know what, Deanna, that was a great event. Why did it go so well? Like, how did you do this? My response would be typically, and again, these are generalizations, these are proven facts. There are exceptions to every rule, but the vast majority of women would respond and say something like this. You know what? I had a great team. I have a really great team. They work their butt off. They pull things together. You know what? The weather was perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better day. You know, everything was great. And right? Isn't that what we do? Now, if it flopped and it was terrible and nobody showed up and nothing happened and the food was terrible, whatever, right? And someone said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you know, like what happened? What happened with this event? Why didn't it work? What a woman would typically say is, you know what, I dropped the ball. I should have planned it on a different day when the weather was more likely to be better. I should have organized it a little bit more. I should have followed up with my team to make sure that some of these things were done. I should have picked a better caterer because the caterer wasn't great. Like I should have done a better job doing that. We look outward, right? Or we look inward, I'm sorry. We look inward at why the failure happens. Now, let's talk about men and what their typical response is. Same situation, right? And the event is a flop. Why is it a flop? You know what? It was a flop because I told so-and-so to get this done and they didn't follow through. The weather was awful. The weather didn't work. The caterer sucks. He didn't do what he was supposed to do, right? When men fail, they look outward at what the reason is. If it went really well, what do they say? Well, you know what? Because I'm a rock star. That's why it went so well, right? They look inward and they see that, you know what? I'm the reason that it was success. I knew what I was doing and I did a really good job at doing it. So we have to pay attention to that, right? Because we do that typically. And we own our failures, but we don't own our successes. In fact, for a lot of women that I know, actually taking a compliment is really uncomfortable for them. You don't know what to say, like, and we downplay it, right? Oh, you look really great today. Oh, no, I don't. You know, oh, this whole thing, right? Oh, this is nothing, right? We downplay it. We don't just say thank you. Thank you. You know what? I'm feeling amazing today. Like, whatever. We need to start owning our success, ladies, because it's so important, because not every failure is our fault. Sometimes there are other variables, but we will own it and we will let that just haunt us. And what it does, right, it just adds to that one thing that's called imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is basically, it's that head trash that goes on within us that tells us that we're not good enough, right? Why are you going to do that? You don't know what you're doing. People are going to see right through you and they're going to know that you don't even know what you're talking about, right? How many of you guys have to deal with that? I know I deal with it too. Imposter syndrome isn't something that ever goes away, right? But you can learn how to control it. There are tools and resources so that you can squash it. And it begins, in my opinion, with owning our success, with finding that confidence and owning where our success falls, and not always just taking that failure in. So there's a couple different women I want to introduce you to. The first one, Michelle Pfeiffer, right? This is a quote that she said, "I'm really not that good, it's all been a sham." I mean, this is Michelle Pfeiffer. And whether you like her or you don't, she's pretty much successful. Everybody pretty much knows that name and knows what she does and can probably name a movie that she was in. But this is something she's even said to herself, that she's not that great. And she clearly is, to get where she's gotten. Kate Winslet has the same imposter syndrome haunting her. Sometimes I wake up in the morning before going off to a shoot and think, I can't do this, I'm a fraud. Ladies, we're not the only one that have to deal with imposter syndrome, with thinking that we can't do it. The difference is we can't allow it to stop us from going after our goals and going after our dreams. We can't let that head trash get in the way, because when you compare how things are with men typically, right? And I kind of showed the strengths or how they see success and failure. And I've experienced this, right? There is a study that says you could have a job posting, and this job posting says that there are, here are the requirements for the position. And I actually did this with a friend of mine who reached out to me and said, for her own company, Deanna, you would be great at this position. I'm sending you over all the requirements. I looked at the requirements and I had most of them, but there was one thing on that list I didn't have, right? And women may look at it and let's just say that it is one thing on that list that you just don't have. And I actually messaged her back and said, I'm so grateful for this opportunity, but I'm not the right fit because I don't have this skill. And her response was like, are you crazy? Like, this position is pretty much designed for you. I didn't take it. I didn't do it because at that time in my life, I didn't have that skill and there was no way I could do a good job for her. And I didn't want to let her down. Now, let's change the scenario, right? Studies have shown, and these are Harvard studies, that men have done the same thing. They've looked at a job posting, and let's say that they have half of what is on that list. They will apply for that position because in their mind, they're like, this job is totally mine. I got this, right? So they see things in a more optimistic way. Again, I am not saying that women are not optimistic. I am not saying that women are not confident, because I know some really badass women that are just killing it. What I'm saying is that our natural tendency, our head trash that goes on, will downplay what we're good at, because we will hear one negative thing and we will think that because of that we don't fit or that we are a fraud. And it's something really that is common among women and men. Men have it too, but women have it more. So what's stopping you from going after your dream right now? I want you to think about it and write down in your workbook 3 things that are stopping you from going after your dream. And I'll tell you a few things that I've heard a lot, and I'm sure you may have said 1 or 2 of these to yourself, or maybe you've heard it from somebody else when you've talked about it. Lack of time. You know what? I just don't have the time to get that done. I wish I did. I'm just so busy. I am so busy. There's no time. Right? The reality is we make time for things that are important to us. Every single one of us will make time for something if it's important to us. And you might be thinking in your head, Deanna, you know what? Okay, I get that, but you don't get it. Like, I'm really legit busy. I am so busy. And I'm not doubting that you aren't busy. I'm sure you are. We are all very, very busy. But if something is really important to you, if you want something bad enough, you will find the time to make it happen. Another one, I don't have enough money. You know, I wish I could do it, but I don't have the money. If I had stopped and thought about leaving my corporate job, and again, financially it was tough. I'm not going to pretend that it wasn't, right? I clearly did not have enough money at that point to make the decision that I made. Not even close. I'm glad I didn't stop to think, because I probably would have stopped myself. But my why, the reason I had to make this shift, was much more important than anything else to me. So not enough money is just another excuse. Because again, if you want something bad enough, you are going to figure it out. You're going to make it work. Lack of education. Okay, maybe in some scenarios this may apply. You know, if you want to be a surgeon, you need to have that education. You need to go and do it. So get your butt in gear and go back and get that education. But if you're doing something that you are already, like, you're already doing it, but you're afraid to add to it because you're like, I just don't know. I don't know if I know enough at this point, right? That's another excuse. Just do it. If you're already doing it. If you need that extra education, then take that education. But quit making it a continued excuse of why you're not going after your dreams or your goals. I don't have enough experience. I use this one too. Not gonna lie, probably. I think maybe it's been 6 years ago. 6 years ago, my agency was started. Now my degree's in psych, so I've always wanted to counsel people on some level. But I had the agency, but my passion was still in coaching and counseling them. And I have a business coach. I actually have 2 coaches. And this one that I was actually talking to, I actually shared this with both coaches. I'm going to take that back. I shared it with my strengths coach and then my business coach. And I really wanted to do this, but I'm like, I don't have enough experience because I don't have a degree, a lack of education, right? I don't have more of a degree. I have a degree in psych, but I felt like I needed something else. And I don't know if I can really help business owners. And both of them at that time told me, like, you absolutely, you have the experience, like you've been through the mud, you've seen the same things that they've seen, right? But this was one of my excuses. I just don't have enough experience. Someone is telling me I can't do it. This is so common. This is so popular. And I don't know if you've experienced this. I know I've experienced it. I know a lot of people have experienced it, but someone is telling me I can't do it. Now, this usually happens for 2 reasons. One reason is that, sometimes the person is telling you because they truly care about you and they just can't see it, right? So and even though we get defensive but they just can't see our vision. And so they say we can't do it. They're not saying it to hurt us. But the real reason that they're doing it is because they can't see themselves doing it. So because they can't put themselves in that situation, or maybe because they themselves maybe failed at something in the past, that's stopping them, it's limiting them from going after what their real dream is, then they are projecting that onto you, saying that you can't do it either. So again, it's just an excuse. It's an excuse, and it needs to stop. If you see your vision clearly, if you want something bad enough, nothing is going to stop you. You can have a million excuses. You can come up with a million excuses of why you can't, but if you really want it, you're going to push through. So in your workbook, I asked you, what's your excuse, right? And it may be something that's not even on here. Maybe it's something I didn't even mention that's personal to you. Write down that is, and then ask yourself, what if I didn't have that? What if I didn't have that excuse? What does it give me permission to do or not do? So remove that excuse. Are these excuses something that you can actually control? And in a lot of cases, you can, right? And in some, maybe not. But what you can't control is the way you view them, your mindset, the way you look at them and the way you respond to them. That's what you can, that's what you can control. And then what's stopping you, right? Remove those excuses and what's stopping you. So let's talk about some strengths and understanding the strengths between men and women. So we're going to start with the guys. So some of the strengths with men, right, is that they are really good at negotiating higher salaries. They're just much more comfortable at it. They're more likely to ask for a raise. Now, I found this fact, they embrace technology faster, and I included it because I understand the science behind it and I understand the facts behind it. But I will tell you that the men around me do not embrace it faster. However, like I said, there's always exceptions to the rules. There are a lot of men that they do technically grasp this a little bit faster than women do, but again, it's just a fact. They're not afraid to improvise. So if something comes up and it changes, they're not afraid to make those changes on the fly. we will sit and think about it a little bit longer and debate it. And, we'll turn to a friend and we'll ask somebody, what do you think? What do you think? And again, it kind of ties into, again, that confidence factor. And I'm not saying again that women are less confident. We're just wired that we will question things. And men do have this natural confidence that we have to learn a little bit more. So they're not afraid to improvise on the fly. They delegate better. Now, ladies, the reason I think that they delegate better is because as women, we are really good at juggling a lot of things at once. And I'm going to say that they probably are not as good as that. So they've got to delegate, right? That's my opinion. But they do a really good job at delegating. And delegating when you have a business is so important. But I even know, like with me, I'm like, you know what, just give me that. I'll just do it myself, because I'd rather do it myself and have it done the way that I want it than have to go back and redo it. And that's not a good way to think. It really isn't. And I've learned recently that I shouldn't think like that, and I need to have more trust and delegate a little bit more. So men are just really, really good at this. They typically will take bigger risks as well. They're not afraid to take that leap, right? They're not talking about it all the time. They may discuss something with one person, but they're not discussing it with several, or they may just make that decision themselves and move forward. And then they look for male mentors. And this is so important, because I know that my coaches, my mentors have helped me tremendously. And this may go back to how women, we just juggle a lot of things and we try to do things ourselves. But having someone to mentor and coach you is probably one of the biggest rewards, the biggest things that you can do, in my opinion. I know personally, I'm grateful for my mentors and my coaches, because they have pulled layers away and they push me when I'd rather not be pushed. But men are really good at doing that. Women, right? We love a challenge. Oh, do we like challenges? Sometimes to the detriment of what we're actually doing. But, and I kind of laugh, because as you can see, like a lot of these, obviously we're talking business, but business and personal, all this stuff, this is how we're wired. So a lot of it is going to sway into both areas, but we like challenges. We're team players, right? We're the relationship builders. So we love that team. So we love pulling people together. We love, working with others. We love collaborating, right? And we love bouncing ideas off of each other. So we are team players, and it goes back to that nurturer that we are wired to be. We are persuasive too. Now, I love this, right? Because we are so in tune, so much more in tune with what people are saying and how they are saying it. We're just more aware of what they're doing. And I'm going to tell you a little fact in a second, but because we understand that we're more persuasive, we're hard workers. And I'm sure every woman listening is not surprised to hear this, because we do juggle a lot. We wear a lot of hats typically. 54% of women worked over 9 hours a day, and only 41% of men. Now, men will usually go to work, come home, and unwind. Well, there's really no such thing typically for women, because we're coming back, we're working longer, and we're coming back, and then we're working again, right? We're making dinner, we're cleaning the house, and we're taking care of the kids, we're doing whatever we do, running here, running errands. And not to say men don't do this as well, but women, we're just, again, just the facts. We are harder workers typically. Now, this is what I wanted to share when it comes to that we're more persuasive. And this is why I think we're more persuasive, right? We're better at reading facial cues. So if somebody gives us a cue, especially fear and disgust, if someone has a look on their face, we can typically pick up on it. If they're disgusted or if they're afraid, we pick up on it a lot quicker than men do. And I kind of laugh because, I know sometimes I'll ask my husband a million times, like, what's wrong? What's wrong? He's like, nothing, right? Nothing is wrong. And I'm picking up on something and I'm like, okay, I'm going to believe you, like there's nothing wrong. But then I may be like upset about something and he will never ask. And when I tell him, he's like, you were upset about that? And I'm like, yeah, I was totally upset about that. And he really has no clue. And I'm going to blame it that we're just better at reading facial cues than men are. And maybe you can relate too, because but I think that's an awesome strength to have, because we can then pick up on what people may be feeling a lot faster than men, and that makes us more persuasive. It also helps us when it comes to relationship building, because we are the builders. We nurture relationships, we build it, and all of these components of where our strengths lie are so valuable. So the reason that I'm showing both of these strengths as far as where men's strengths are and where women are is because, guys, a lot of times we are working with the opposite sex. And again, you know, this is not a male bashing at all. You can see where their strengths lies. There's a lot, in my opinion, to be learned from men and how they think and how they process their information, right? Especially when it comes to making decisions, to delegating, how they see success and how they see failure. I think we have a lot to learn. I also think that men can also learn some things from us, right? And some things are just innate. It's just how we're wired. But there are things that are teachable and learnable, and especially with controlling that head trash. So when you are in a situation, if you're negotiating with a man, or you're doing some sort of business with a male counterpart, you know, when you understand these tools, and we may think that they're being insensitive or not understanding, well, maybe we need to just adjust the way we're presenting something. When we understand their strengths, they really are looking a lot at the bottom line. They're looking at the black and white, and we are typically looking at more of the relationship and looking at it differently. So understand that when you are working with men, again, business or personal, this can go both ways. So it's great to understand their strengths. Now, as women entrepreneurship rises, so does social enterprise. So what social enterprise is, it's basically businesses that are happening that are coming from a social cause, right? Cleaner water, it may be better food for children, whatever. And we're seeing a huge rise in this. Now, is that coincidence? I don't think so. I don't think so at all, because as we see women entrepreneurship rising, right, and we understand that we are the nurturers, we are the relationship builders, we are the ones that want to take care of everybody, then we understand that there's a direct correlation with this. 2/3 of women, they're drawn to address a cause. So that's why we're starting to see an increase in that. So a few keys for 2020, right? Some things to think about. If you are starting a business, if we are in a business as a women entrepreneur, right? Do what you love and love what you do. And that's so important. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's really important. Strive for the highest quality in everything that you do. You know, don't stop yourself. Just go for it and make sure it's quality. And I know as women, we will typically do that just naturally. Network, find mentors or coaches. Ladies, this is so important. I can't stress this enough. If you don't have a coach or a mentor, I encourage you to get one. And when I say mentor, what I mean is someone who has more knowledge than you. You can always turn. I've got friends who do the same thing that I do, and I value their opinion, and I love bouncing ideas off of them. But I wouldn't consider them a mentor because they are in the same area that I am. When I say mentor, I'm saying someone who has exceeded your knowledge and has exceeded your friend's knowledge. Look for a mentor or a coach and really work with them to help grow your business. Fake it till you become it. I'm not a fan of the fake it till you make it, but the reason that I put this in here is because you're really not faking it. I guess it's fake your mindset, right? Because we've got that self-doubt and we've got that imposter syndrome going on, and we start to question ourselves. And I'm saying just change your mindset. Fake it in your mind and you will continue. You know, tell your mindset, as far as like that imposter syndrome, tell imposter syndrome to just take a seat and you've got this. And one of the things that I do, and this may sound silly, but something that I do is that I actually have, when I'm speaking, it's almost like it's this fake version of me that will go on the stage, because I still get very nervous speaking in public. After I get talking, I'm okay, but it's just that minute before I'm announced and to walk out, I get really nervous. So I have to almost put on a different persona to go out there, because that imposter syndrome will start going, oh my gosh, like you have no business even talking about this. But I know that I do. It's open to feedback. And when I say this, sometimes we take feedback too personally, but be open to it and look in the mirror and say, is there value to this feedback? And if there is, then incorporate it. And if there's not, then just pitch it, but be open to it. Always keep learning. We will never know everything. And the minute that we think we know everything, then it's, something changed, especially in social media and digital marketing, but I'm sure in your industry too. You always want to keep learning. Set goals. We're going to be talking about goal setting later today, but make sure you're setting those goals and you're working to achieve it. You want to maintain a work-life balance as well. That's so important. It is so important. I always say, the hustle culture is killing us and our business. I do believe in hard work. I don't believe in enjoying having to work hard around the clock and never taking a break for the things that are important to us. But I can go on a whole other tangent with that. But I think it's very important that we maintain a work-life balance, because life is too short. And if you have a business financial plan and a personal financial plan, don't commingle those accounts. If you are just starting off as an entrepreneur, make sure that you keep those completely separate. And now I'm going to open it up for questions. I'm going to pause the recording. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Goal Planning Success. Today, we're going to be talking about how to actually plan your goals, and we will talk about SMART if you've heard about SMART before, which I think a lot of people have, but we're going to take it a little bit further than that, right? We're going to take it to a place where not only are we just coming up with goals and coming up with some action plans, but we are changing our mindset and the process. And there are going to be some tips and tools that you guys can use so that there is no reason at all, if you implement all this, why you cannot be living your very best life and accomplishing every single goal that you set up with. Now, in your workbook, I have that we're going to do a brain dump. But before we do that, I think it's really important to identify what your goals are. And this brain dump is something that is, it's so valuable. And I put here at least 50 goals. Now, when I'm doing my coaching and I put this on there about listing 50 goals, usually I hear a sigh, or someone says, what do you mean 50? Like, I can't come up with 50. I only need 1 or 2 goals, right? And yes, we are only going to pick a couple goals, but I want you to do a brain dump and list everything that you want to do, right? And this can be not only business, it can be personal life, it can be places you want to see, things you want to experience. And it's, knowing what your goals are can actually be more challenging than you think. And perhaps that's why so many people don't set them, right? So you may have heard that most people don't keep their New Year's resolutions, but did you know that most people don't even make one? And this brain dump, by doing this, right, we're going to help you come up with all those goals. It's kind of funny because we are, in the beginning of the year, January, everybody, the gyms, this is the one you hear the most, right? All of the gyms are packed, and by March, they're empty, which is kind of funny because people don't keep their resolutions. You're going to know why, and I'm guilty of it, and I don't even call them resolutions anymore. What I say are that they are just goals, but I have totally backed out of my goals before, and I haven't followed through with them, and I'm guessing you probably have as well. I don't know any person who has not actually followed through with their goals, but people who actually sit and write them, so writing them down and acknowledging them, are 10 times more likely to attain them. than people who just kind of make them, right? And if you've done that, you've just thought, well, you know what? I think this year I want to lose X number of pounds, or I want to save X number of dollars. And usually weight and money are the two most popular things that people will list, but they just think about it. Well, we're going to have you write those down. And I don't want you to stop with just those couple of goals that you want to achieve. Again, this can be personal, it could be business. So maybe you want to open a new location. Maybe you just want to launch your business, or launch a new service, or launch a new product that you've been thinking of. So it can be a variety of things. Maybe you want to take a trip. Whatever it is, I want you to write all those things down. And of course, if you're watching this on the replay, you can pause the video and take some time to do it. But the one thing that I want you to do, I'm going to ask you to do this in the beginning, and I'm going to continue to ask you, is that I want you to get other people out of your head. So I want these goals to be what you want. Nobody's going to see them. These are just for you. So I want you to be real. So ask yourself, like, how do you allow other people to dictate, right? And is this somebody else's goal, or is this my goal? And the one key indicator is that if you hear the word should, I should do this, that should usually means it's not your goal, that it's somebody else's. And I want you to just toss it. If you hear that word should pop into your mind, then eliminate it and just write down what you want to do. Ask yourself, what do you really want, right? Not what somebody else wants, not what your significant other wants, not what your children want, not what your parents want, not what your business partner wants. What do you really want? Because if you're going to do this, and if you're going to set goals that you really want to achieve, these goals absolutely must be your goals. If you don't really want it, if you're just thinking that you're going to put this down because you're expected to do this, or somebody else feels strongly about it, there's not going to be motivation there. And I'm guessing as I'm saying this, something is popping into your head right now that you probably have experienced before that is going to say, yeah, I've done that before. Like, I can think of a goal that I did, and it really wasn't my goal. It was somebody else's goal. So I want you to take some time, pause this, or if you're watching this live with me right now, just do it after, because there's no way you're going to write all 50. It's probably going to take you a lot longer than you think. Now, I know 50 is a lot. If you can't do it in one sitting, break it up. And it's funny because I was coaching a girl, and I had her do this, and she was one of the ones that sighed and said, oh my gosh, you're not really going to make me do 50. I can't even think of 5. And I'm like, yes, I'm really going to make you do 50. So when we met for the second time, and in this case, because she hired me to do private coaching with her, we did go over her list, and she had 20, which was a great start. I was really proud of her for having 20, but I said, you need some more. And so that was her homework. And when she came back to the next time when we met, she had 50. And her response was, I see why you wanted 50. Because the more I wrote, the more I pulled layers away, and I really saw what I wanted. In the beginning, the 20 were easy because they were easy ones. They were ones that I did want, but ones that I thought about. But then when I really started thinking about, what do I want to experience? What do I want to do? What really do I want in my life? How do I see it? I've started writing down a lot more, and then 50 was easy to get to. So I don't want that number to intimidate you. I want you to actually go through and do that. Now, after you have all 50 goals, you may need another sheet. In your workbook, I did give you some. You probably will need another sheet to do that. Just write it on the back if you need to. I want you to go through each of them, and I want you to actually put a number next to it. I want you to either put a 1, 3, 5, or 10 next to each goal. What this means is if it's a 1-year goal, you want to achieve it within the year, put a 1. If it's a 3-year goal, put a 3. If it's somewhere between 3 and 10, you really don't know, put a 5. And if it's a 10-year goal, if it's something 10 years or more, like way in the future, then put that next to And after you go through that, then take a quick look at it, right? Now, the other goals are really cool to have. And in the very, very back of your workbook, there is a sheet that's a bucket list sheet. So you can add those 10 plus years. You can add even the 5 years, right? Since they're not immediate goals in the 3 years. But what I want to do is we're going to just break down, and I want you to take a look at all those ones that you listed. And I want you to be able to pick from your list of 1-year goals, select up from 1 of them to 4 of them, the ones that you find the most impactful, and focus on these, right? Focus on these. If I'm coaching you, we would focus on it while we're going through the coaching, but we'll focus on that. And that is going to be what your goal planning is going to be surrounded by. And I'm going to share more detail on what you need to do, right? Because we're going to start and talk about your why next, which is really important. So after you do this, right, and these are the steps to do for your goal planning. First thing, like I said, is list everything, do your brain dump. That's what I like to call it. Then break it down with a 1, 3, 5, or 10. Put that next to it. And then after you're done with that, we are going to pick the top ones. Now, you have to have a big enough reason why. And this is one of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, that goals fail. First one, I guess I should say, first one is because we're picking goals that aren't really our goal. We're picking goals with that should, those should-haves, or should be doing this, right, that are somebody else's goal. And so we're not going to achieve it. But we need to have a big reason why. Like, why do we even want this goal? And I'm going to ask you to dig deep when you're doing this, right? And I want you to look at that 1 or 2, 3, 4 goals, whatever number of goals that you picked. And for the case of this workshop, since we're doing it online, we'll just think of 1. I just want you to think of that goal. And I want to ask you to, like I said, to dig deep. And I want you to make sure that you really have a true understanding of the real reason that you want to reach this goal. So there's an example, right? And I'm going to share this example with you of what I'm talking about, because I don't want a surface reason, right? I'm asking you to go deep. And the way you're going to go deep is to keep asking yourself why. So I was working with someone, right? And we were talking about being efficient. And I had shared some efficiency techniques with this person, right? And she said to me, I can't wait to go home and start using these efficiency techniques to make my work more efficient and productive. I mean, of course, we hear that a lot. Who doesn't want to be efficient and productive? But I asked her, why do you want to be more productive? And she said, well, because I want to get a raise. And I asked again, well, why do you want a raise? And her response was, well, because I need more money so that I can buy a bigger house. I was like, well, why do you want a bigger house? Right? And this may sound trivial because you may stop at, well, I just want a bigger house. And that may be, you may think that that's your big reason why. I'm saving money. I want to be more productive so I can save money so that I can buy a bigger house, because the house is my big why, right? But I want you to keep digging. So when I asked why, it's, well, because I want my mother and my sister to move in with me. Okay, why? Because that's always been our dream, to have a big house so that we can all live together. Now there's the why. That's what I'm asking you to do. When you have these, I want you to dig deep. I want you to really identify what you really want and why you really want it, right? And again, when we're making goals, and I'm going to go back to losing X number of pounds or saving X number of money, a lot of times when somebody makes that goal in the beginning of the year or whenever, they're not digging deep enough. They're not saying why they want to do it. So I really want you to just keep asking why. And it sounds like a little kid, right? I remember when my kids were small and everything was why. It drove me absolutely nuts. So now I'm going to drive you absolutely nuts. And I want you to keep asking yourself why. Now, after finding that bigger purpose behind your goal, and coming up with what your why is, I want you to take some time and describe, right? I say create a vision of how it feels to be living in that dream. And this is something else, right? Everything that we do is based around emotions. Every decision we make is around emotions. But I want you to take time and I want you to visualize what it looks like. And I don't think in your workbook, I actually gave you a worksheet. I didn't give you a place to write it, but I want you to write it. I want you to get out an extra piece of paper. Sorry about that. And I want you to write this vision down. Oh, I did give you a place. I'm sorry. And it's a short activity. I just want you to put together of what this vision feels like, right? If you accomplish this goal, once you accomplish this goal, not if, you got to watch those words too. When you accomplish this goal, what is it going to look like? And there's some rules when you start to write this, right? So the rules are, the way that I want you to write it is I want you to write it, these are the 4 P's. Personal, I want it to be I am this, or me. I want you to make it personal. I also want you to write it as if it's already happening. Write in the present. Write positive. And I think, well, I don't think, I have seen this so many times. Somebody will write a vision and they will say, well, I don't want this, or I will not do this anymore, or this will not happen. No, don't use not and don't. Avoid those negative words. Everything that you write in this vision statement, I want you to write that in the positive. And then I want you to put passion behind it, right? Because we are going to learn that coming up that emotions are what drive us. They are the most important thing that you're doing. And in my workshop where I talk about why people buy from you and why they don't, you're going to hear a lot about emotion, but emotion is really important. And I want you to do this. And this is just a free writing activity. It shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes to do it. I want you to write all the details of your ideal life and how you see it and what you desire. I want you to write as many things as comes to you, and then summarize it, right? And in just one quick paragraph. And the thing is that having this vision statement could be a great tool to refer to in moments when you really feel like you need that extra motivation. So what I sometimes say is put it on when you have that vision statement of what your life is going to look like, how it's going to feel, right? And you're writing it personal and present and positive, and you're putting passion behind it, and you're feeling all those amazing things of what life is going to be when you accomplish this goal. Put it on a postcard and put it up on your wall. Put it, maybe create a screenshot and put it as your screensaver on your phone. So, because there are going to be times, right? Just doing this does not mean it's done. There are going to be times that when you start to follow through with this goal, that you are going to get uncomfortable, and you're going to need that extra motivation to keep pushing you through. And this vision that you're writing right now is a great tool that's going to help pull you through that, right? And this is why a lot of people do vision boards. Vision boards are not magic, right? Some people are like, oh, vision boards, if you just put a picture up on a piece of poster and then it comes true, okay. No, it really doesn't. I mean, I'm a true believer of vision boards. I love vision boards, but there is so much more that goes into it than just cut out a picture and put it up on the board and it's going to happen. There's some truth to it in the sense of you seeing an image, right? And our brain responds more to images than it does to words, but it still responds to words and reading it. But by seeing the image, we can connect the path, right? So our brain sees what the goal is. So you're creating this vision. Our brain sees that goal and it finds a path to it. So that's why vision boards, I like vision boards, but you're doing the work before it, right? I'm not going to put up a huge mansion and not do any work to get there, right? It's a goal, it's a vision. So you want to do this, you want to write that, your vision down, and then hold on to it, because it is going to help you in the next set. So we have to change our mindset, which is something that we've talked about. I'm talking about it now, right? And this is the thing, if you want to change your life, you have to change the way that you think, and you have to change habits, because we are doing things, the way that we are living our life right now today are habits that we created. And we may not have even created these habits. They could have been created for us, right? We don't always know where these habits come from. Sometimes we're doing what our parents taught us. Sometimes we're doing what our grandparents taught our parents, and that got passed on. So we don't even know where it originated, right? But it's a habit. So when you're trying to change a habit, and it's going to get a little uncomfortable. And here's something to kind of explain it, right? So if I asked you, if I called you and said, hey, can you go pull that out of my yard, right? And you see this little sprout coming up, you probably would walk over and just pull it real out, right? Not even like ending the conversation if we're chit-chatting or whatever. You'd walk over, pull it out with one hand. It's not going to be a problem, right? Now, it grows a little bit more, and I say, hey, can you go pull that out? That one might require a little bit more work. So you kind of look at it, you might tug at it, right, with both hands leaning back, hoping you don't fall backwards, which is something I would totally do. But you might pull at it a little bit more, and maybe you need to get a shovel, maybe you don't, but it's going to take a little bit more work. And then I ask you to go pull this out, right? Hey, can you go pull that out? You're going to look at me like I'm flipping nuts, because those roots are deep. They are way underground. They've spread. That trunk is huge. There's no way that you're going to easily be able to get rid of that tree. Now, you're going to have to probably cut it down, maybe get a backhoe or something, start digging up the ground. It's going to take a lot more work to get it, to remove it, isn't it? This is what your habits look like, right? When you just start to get into a habit, it's small, it's easy to change, right? As we let those, and we have good habits and bad habits, right? So in the beginning, when you're setting a new habit, it's easy to change. It's easy to go back to our old habit. But some of our habits that are good, they're rooted and they're hard to change. But the reality is, if we continue on the path of these good habits that we're setting right now and working towards these goals and changing the way we think, one day these habits are going to be really rooted too. And they're going to be hard to remove. So I want you to remember that, right? As you're going through these changes, because anytime that we make a change, it's hard. It's not easy. That's why I want you to visualize it. That's why I want you to really understand how it's going to look and how it's going to feel when you actually do it. Now, in the next set, we are going to do SMART, because I do think that having SMART goals are really important. They are important to have because they're very, very much defined. So if you're not familiar with SMART goals, I'll share it. The very first one, which is the S, means that they're specific, meaning that they're clear and they're well defined. The next one is measurable, which what this is what's the value? Like, can this be valued precisely? So if we're talking about losing weight, what we're talking about is pounds, right? If you're talking about saving money, what you're talking about is dollars. If you're talking about selling X number of products, right, that can either be product-based as far as a number or dollar-based, and it could be gross or net. So it has to be measurable. It has to be achievable. Is this something that you can actually achieve? Is it possible, right? If I'm going to tell you, if you say, you know, I want to save $50,000 this year, and you make $12,000, that's probably going to be really unachievable unless you hit the lottery or you have another source of income, because the numbers just don't make sense. right? If you're not looking at adding to that income. So it's probably not achievable. But if you say, you know what, I want to save $6,000, that may be achievable, right? If we look at budget and we look at expenses and how many times you're going off to grab that espresso at Starbucks, you know, we might be able to make changes and make it achievable. So you have to look at your goal and say, is it achievable? Is it relevant? You know, is this reasonable and realistic? Is it relevant to what you're currently doing in your business? Is it relevant? Will it make its difference in what your goal is? And what time frame? You know, what's the deadline and what time will I do this? Now, SMART, this is SMART. If you look down at the SMART, but I've added another one that, again, I think is really important. And I think this is why a lot of goals are missed, is because we are not looking at the emotion. We're not changing the mindset. This is great. This is like puts all the facts in order, right? But we need to look at the outcome. And the outcome is, what does it feel like when you achieve it? And I want you, on each one of your goals that you have, I want you to write those goals down. And I gave you space to write down the SMART, right? A one line, but the outcome, I want you to do the same thing I did with this vision. I want you to do that there. What is the outcome? How is that going to feel when this is accomplished, right? Because all that emotion that you're bringing into this and that passion, and you're writing it with those 4 P's, right? You're making it personal and in the present, and as if it's happening right now, it's going to come into fruition for you, because you're going to be telling your mind. Our mind believes anything that we tell it. Whatever we tell our mind, it believes, right? And I've shared this a little bit before, but that's the reason that those vision boards do work. They are not magic. There's a science behind it, and it has to do with understanding the way that the brain works and understanding what you're putting in front of it. So when you create a vision, right? If you create this vision, even if it's in your mind of what this looks like, if you get very quiet and just paint that picture, because our brain does relate to images so much more than it does to anything else. And it will believe what we tell it. It will find a path. So how many times have you been, here's an example, you've gotten in the car and you've driven somewhere and you get to that place, your destination, and then you have no idea how you actually got there. So that is this very small part of the brain that is extremely powerful. It's actually called the reticular activating system, if you want to look it up. The little nerd drop there. But if you look it up, this part of the brain is very powerful. So whatever we tell it, it's going to come to fruition. So if we talk in negatives and say, I can't do that, well, then we're not going to be able to. And if you say, I can do that, and you can visualize how you're doing it, and you can see, even if you don't see all the steps of how you're going to do it, your brain will connect the dots and it will get you there. So it's really important to understand that. I did a study when I was in college on visual imagery. And this is another example of why this is so important. And what I did was I actually took 2 groups of basketball players, and they weren't actual players. They were just people shooting hoops who were on the basketball court, but they were not players. They were just students. And I had them just shoot those 3-point shots, right? I don't really even know basketball that well, but just had them shoot those 3-pointers and calculated how many they made. Then we took a break. They were in 2 separate groups. The one that took a break, one group could go and do whatever they wanted to do. The other group came with me, and we just watched a video of people actually making the same shot and making it, the ball going into the hoop. Quick little break, came back in, everybody together, and we did it again and mixed them all up and charted it. The people who actually watched the video, and I asked them to visualize what they just saw and visualize it as they made their shot, their numbers increased tremendously, actually. as opposed to the group that didn't watch the video. Their numbers stayed the same. So why am I sharing that? I'm sharing that just as another example of college students who visualized something and their brain recognized it and achieved it. So it's very important to visualize what that income is, or outcome is, not income, outcome is, and how to do it. Now, you've got your SMART goals, which is great, but there's some other pieces that I want you to do. And here's some other things, right? I want you to break it down into smaller pieces. So I call this the to-do list. So once you have what your goals are, right? You have your 1 goal, 2, 3, 4, whatever goals that you picked. I want you to look at each of those goals. And I want you to look at it and say, you know, what can I do right now to achieve this? This is my to-do list, right? And I want you to do within the 3 months, break it down in the next 3 months. What can I do to achieve this? I don't want you to go further in 3 months, because here's what happens, right? If we come up with a goal and we're planning it, we can plan all the pieces. Well, this needs to happen in 6 months and 9 months. But during that time, life happens. Something can happen more times than not, right? If you're trying to save money, the car breaks down, or a new product, there's a price increase, and now it throws you off. And what do we want to do? What we want to do is then go back to the easy old habits of everything we've learned in the past. But if we just make this little, what can I do in the next 3 months to achieve this goal? And we write that down. What's going to happen now is when that change happens, well, there's a price increase. Okay, well, let's adjust the sales and let's figure out something else. We're not going to just throw it all away because of one change, which is really easy to do. What we're going to do is just adjust. Okay, so what can I do in the next 3 months? Write down your to-do list of what you can do. Now, I want you to get your planner out after you do that, and I want you to plan for it. I don't want you to think about it. I don't want you to say, yeah, I know what I need to do. I don't want you to write a little checklist and put it up on the wall, because I will tell you to put little notes on the wall. What I want you to do is get your actual planner out, and I want you to schedule it for at least the next week. If you want to go week to week, that's fine, and schedule it. But for the 3 months, I want you to have that to-do list of things that need done. And I want you to actually plan it. Write it down, put it in your planner, schedule it. If you do a digital planner, schedule it in there, and then make it happen. Do it, actually do it. And if you think, or if you're thinking, well, I really don't have to, I already have an idea of what I need to do, so I'm just going to do that. You're not. You're going to put it on the back burner. You're going to forget. Life's going to happen. You're going to shift gears. So yeah, I am going to stress that you absolutely need to put it in your planner and do that. And then the next thing is you need somebody to hold you accountable. I know, like, why do I need a babysitter? I don't really need this, but you know what you do? We all need someone to hold us accountable. I know that there are times like that I have a monthly meeting with a friend of mine who we set up goals and we hold each other accountable, because it's so easy to get distracted and get thrown off base that and then we'll drift back to our old habits, right? So you need an accountability partner. If that is someone if it's a friend, if it is a spouse or significant other, if it is a business partner, whatever, your coach or your mentor, whatever it is, I want you to find them and ask them to hold you accountable, right? And I want you to come up with some rewards. I want you to celebrate. So what are some things, like when you reach this goal, and this is in your workbook, come up with a reward system. What are some things, like once you do this, like how can you celebrate? How can you reward yourself? And I want you to think of things that you can actually do. And because we do need to celebrate, we need to reward ourselves for all the really cool things that we did and that we are doing. I also, and this is not in your workbook, but what I want you to also do is, what if you don't do it? Right? What if you don't do this? What will happen? And I want you to think about it. I was working with someone, and one of the persons that I was working with, we had talked about she wanted to lose weight, and so she was going to go to the gym, right? And this is a normal one, go to the gym and work out. I'm like, okay, great. So the celebrate was easy, right? I get to go shopping. That's an easy one to do. Well, what happens if you don't hit that goal? What are you going to do? What is that going to look like? Okay, so if you don't hit that goal, what I want you to do is for the next month, right? Because we're breaking up. If I don't go to the gym 3 days a week this week, well, then next week, I want you to take the stairs and not the elevator everywhere you go, right? So come up with something like, if I don't follow this week what I say I'm going to do, then what will I do next week to make up for it? And create that pain. There's nothing wrong with creating that pain, because we want to avoid pain, right? We want to avoid pain, and we want to gain pleasure. And that is what drives us in every single thing that we do, right? Our emotions of what that pain is going to feel like, or what that celebration is going to feel like. It's what drives us. And remember that. So I want you to do that too, but I want you to be able to reward yourself. I've also included in your workbook a bucket list. Now, we did the 50 that when you did your brain dump, which is super cool, and I want you to go through that. But after you're done doing this project of goal planning, I want you to come up with a bucket list. Like, what else do you want to accomplish, right? Because life is supposed to be enjoyed. It's a journey. We all have goals that we want to reach. We all have things that we want to do. But we want to live life to the fullest. So I want you to come up with your bucket list and just keep it going. So make sure that you guys, you're coming up with your goals, you're coming up with actual action steps. But I will tell you, the visual part of this and the outcome of this, and taking time to write what those steps are and putting it in your planner and really visually understanding the outcome is going to set you apart. So let me see here. Oops. Oh, we're going to stop the screen over here. Pause recording. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Boost Your Sales, Why People Don't Buy From You, and the 2 reasons that they will buy anything. I'm Deanna Hins, Sassy Girl Entrepreneur, and we're going to go through this next hour talking about, why people aren't buying from you and how can you boost your sales. Now, just a little housekeeping. We are, as we go through this, you can ask questions. There is a chat at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to chat any of your questions. I will answer all of those at the end. So we're going to leave a little bit of time just to answer those questions, and then to take a little break so that you can do what you need to do between this workshop and then our last workshop of the day, which is about your email. So let's get started with this one. You guys are all busy entrepreneurs. You are running your business, and you're doing everything that you can to make sure that your business grows, right? I mean, that's why you're here. You want to know, what can you do to increase your sales, to gain more clients, to sell more product, to get more appointments, whatever it is. You're working hard, you're on social media, you are sending out emails, you're working on your branding and your logo. And sure, you're getting sales, obviously, you're still in business, right? But how can you get more? Why are people not buying from you? And what can you be doing better to make sure that they do, right? And that's a question that we all have. So I'm going to talk to you first about some of the reasons why people aren't buying from you at all. And some of these may be surprising, some may not, but hopefully within each one, you're going to find some little tidbits that are going to help you tweak it and become a little bit better. So the first reason, right, and I think this is a popular one of why people aren't buying from you, we hear it all the time, it's pricing. They found another price, they found a better price. And as I go through this, just kind of keep in mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about the reasons that they don't buy. but we're going to go back and discuss how to change it too. So I know you guys have your workbook and your worksheets in front of you, so feel free to follow along and write them in there. But pricing, right? One of the biggest things, I think the most common thing is that someone says, well, you know what? I found a better price. And let's face it, right? With sites like Amazon, if the pricing is getting competitive, and Amazon has the capability to purchase all these things and discount it really low, where if you are a brick and mortar, a mom and pop shop, and you're not buying in the abundance that they are, you may not have that ability to put your price point where Amazon has it. So it makes it tough, doesn't it? It makes it difficult. So pricing is a real common reason why somebody's not buying your product. The second one is they just don't understand the value of your product, right? So, or your service. So you have to make sure that you're really telling them what makes you different, right? So they're not understanding the value. The third reason is, okay, guys, they get distracted. So they may honestly really want to buy your product, and then something happens and they change their mind, right? Here's the deal. We are all getting bombarded by so many different companies and businesses, right? Everybody is trying to get us to buy their product and service. And it gets really hard because we have so much coming at us, especially with social media, that we get easily distracted. Our attention span actually is, if you don't get us in 8 seconds, you have fewer than 8 seconds to actually capture us, to get us to engage. So our attention span is really low, and you have all these other people fighting to sell to us. So they may legitimately want to buy your product, and then something happens and then they're off to the next thing, and they totally forgot about what they were even looking for or why they needed it. The next reason is that they have too many choices. So you might think that you're giving a lot of options, right? So that by giving them a lot of options, it's going to make it easier, because what you're doing is, now if somebody doesn't want the pink shirt, they can get the black shirt or the green shirt or the yellow shirt. So you're going to have a color for everybody, and you're going to be able to fit, whatever they want, you're going to have. Well, sometimes what happens is that when you give too many choices, people just don't know what to do. Or maybe you have a lot of different packages, right? A lot of spa packages or coaching packages. And people will start looking at that and they get overwhelmed. They're not sure what they should be doing. And what this does is it leads to something that's actually called decision fatigue. And when they get to this decision fatigue, because they're trying to make up their mind, they just shut down. They don't do anything. I don't know if you've traveled and you're looking at different places to stay and hotels to stay. And I know I'm going through that right now because of everything that's going on. We've been looking at different hotels in an area that we're not familiar with, and going through Airbnb, and of course, like through my miles for my Sky Miles, and looking for discounts and prices and locations. And seriously, I am so overwhelmed that last night, I quit. I'm like, I cannot look at another thing, right? There's too many choices, too many things that are coming into account. So sometimes giving too many choices is not really a good thing. The next reason, all right, guys, now brace yourself for this reason. Your website sucks. So I'm not going to pull any punches here, okay? Your website is so important. If you have a website, now some of you I know you may be doing something where you are multi-level marketing and they provide you with a website. So this kind of comes into play, but your hands might be a little tied as far as what you can and can't do. But if you have your own website, like many of you do, if your website sucks, people are not going to buy from you. Now, here are some things that can be stopping them when they visit your website, right? The first thing is they just don't know how to purchase. from your site. It's too confusing. Have you ever gone to a website and you wanted to buy something? So you clicked on the product and then it took you somewhere else and then somewhere else. And you don't even know. It's like there's too many steps. Again, with everything that's changed with social media and digital marketing, when it comes to our attention span, it is so small that we don't have a lot of time. We want to make this as easy as possible. So if your website right now, they've got to click to several different things to get to what they want to buy, chances are good they're going to leave before they get there. So you want to make sure that you get this, make it as easy as possible for somebody to buy. The less clicks, the better. The next reason after your website, another thing is that it's just too slow. Okay, guys? So it's funny because, as you know, I design websites as well, and people always want to make sure that it just looks visually appealing. They just want to make sure that it's pretty, and they'll name some platforms that they've built their site on or that it's built on. If they built it themselves, I absolutely get it, because a lot of those sites that you build yourself are on slower platforms, but it's something that you can do. But sometimes I'm shocked when I hear that they actually paid someone to build their site on a slower platform for them. And they don't think anything of speed. They're like, well, it doesn't really matter to me because look how pretty it looks. Look how nice it looks. Look at the information. So let me tell you something. If it's slow to load, people are going to leave. First thing, they're going to leave if it takes too long to load your site. So you want to make sure it loads quickly. The second thing, if it takes too long to load your site, people, the search engines it's not going to be optimized. So unless they know to pull up your domain specifically, they're not even going to find your website. So speed of your site is so important. It's really, really important. It's something that people don't talk about a lot because they just want a pretty site. But there's so much more to designing a website than just to make it look pretty. If it's too slow, people are not going to buy from you, either because they're not going to wait for it to load up, or because they don't know your domain and the search engines aren't going to make it come up any quicker. Another reason that your website may suck, or does suck, hopefully it doesn't, but it could, is that you're forced to create an account. Have you gone to these sites? And a lot more sites are getting this way. And first off, if you are like a membership site or something like that where you're required to sign in, I get this. Makes total sense. But if I just want to buy one product, if I just want to go and buy a lotion or a chapstick or whatever, a candle from your website, and I need to create an account to do that, I'm probably not going to do it unless you're a friend, unless you're somebody that I know and I like and I trust. I'm probably not going to take the time, again, time, right? Because we don't want to invest a lot of time in anything. I'm not going to want to take the time to fill out another account and remember another password just to buy a candle from you. So if your website does have something where you have to register before you buy, at the very least, make sure that I can just, or not just me, but the buyer can log in just by a guest. They don't have to set up a whole account. They don't have to remember all that stuff. That will deter people from buying from you if they have to do it. You want to make sure that there's also a back button at the checkout, so that if they did want to go back and shop some more, then they will, because if they can't figure out if they may want something else from your site, or they're curious if they even want that product, or if they want to keep shopping, if there's not an easy way to go back once they get away from your site, they're probably not going to revisit it. They're probably going to hop somewhere else where it's easier to shop. There may not be a lot of payment options on your website. And I know I'm going a lot about websites, but I see these mistakes all the time. And people don't think anything of it because they think it's not a big deal, because to them, their website looks great. But the reality is your website can be stopping people from actually purchasing from you. So if you don't have a ton of payment options, that may be a reason. Not everybody wants to use PayPal. I know PayPal has been around for a long time, and for most it's trusted, but for many, they don't. And they may want to actually use a different card or their own credit card, which I know PayPal can, but they may not want to go through that. They may want to use Discover, and I don't honestly know if PayPal now offers that. I know at one time it didn't. I think Discover, American Express, it didn't, but I think it does now. Or authorized.net. So there's a lot of different ones, but they want to make sure that they have some payment options. Another reason that your website may suck is that they just don't feel secure, right? So you need an SSL certificate. An SSL certificate at the very top corner of the left hand, right where the URL is listed, you're going to see a little lock on there. And if there's not a lock, that means your site's not secure, which means that their information can be used. And you need to have an SSL certificate if you're taking any sort of payment. So if they don't see that, they may not feel secure enough to actually log in and use a payment method. And the last thing is, even before they even get to the payment, where your website might suck, is that nothing looks consistent. Your branding, your logo, and I think a lot of people do get this right, but every once in a while I visit a site and it is just a disaster. There's no consistency with branding, not with colors, not with font, not with the message that they're giving out. It's just a mishmash of blocks and colors, and there's no consistency. And again, this kind of goes back to the trust issue. So if it looks like there's really no consistency, I'm going to question how much I can really trust you and trust what you're doing. So people may go away from your site because of that. The next reason is number 6, your customer service sucks. So I know that's none of you guys, right? Because you guys are all amazing at customer service. But customer service is so important. It's always been really important, right? But a lot of times, because we're in such a digital frame right now, digital mindset, a digital environment, a lot of that personal touch, unfortunately, has kind of gone to the wayside because a lot of the things are automated, and it's going to become more automated, right? On Facebook, if somebody messages us, a lot of times we have a robot responding to it, right? And we've got something automated that will respond. If somebody calls, right? How many times have you called customer service for a product that you've purchased, and you end up in this spiral of hell? I don't know how to call it, right? Well, push 1 for this and 3 for that and 4, and all you want to do is talk to a person, right? So we've gotten away from that human interaction. But customer service is huge. People are more likely to pay more if they know that customer service is there than pay less if they have terrible service. And think about if you've gone somewhere before, right, that you really had terrible service, and maybe it was a restaurant, or maybe it was with a third party that your business deals with, and the pricing's really good, but the customer service, you can never get anything answered if you have a question. Chances are good that you are probably going to leave, and you'll opt in on paying a little bit more, because you know when you call with a question, they're always going to answer you. They're always going to respond to you. I just want to take this a little bit further when it comes to customer service, right? People don't want to wait long to get a response back. We're all about immediate gratification right now, right? And that's what this digital age has made us into. And because of that, even when you're going on your social media, if somebody reaches out to you, if you've got a platform on Instagram or Twitter, but you're like, I'm really not, as a business, I'm really not on Twitter, but I have a Twitter account for my business. And if I message you on Twitter and you don't respond, that's a sign of your customer service that you may not be thinking about. So you want to make sure that if you have a social media platform with your business, that you want to actively be checking, because people are going to expect a response quickly, right? The sooner the better. No more than 24 hours, but if you can make it within that hour, that's great, because they're going to hop and go to the next one if they don't get what they want from you, because there are a million people offering the same thing that you sell, the same thing that I sell. So if they can't reach you, they're going to go to the next person. So you want to make sure that it's just not customer service talking face to face and taking care of problems and doing the right thing. It's also things that you're not thinking about. It's that other platform. It's your response time. So you want to make sure that your customer service is good, because if it sucks, people are not going to buy from you. You also want to make sure that you ask people to do reviews. And I know a lot of times when I'm talking to someone and working with them as far as their business coach, and we talk about reviews, they're like, oh yeah, you know what? I should have asked if they would do a review because they were really happy. They were really happy about it, right? And the sad part of this is that when a person is not happy with your business, they are so quick to go to social media and leave a negative review. But when they're happy with your business, they don't always think of it. And I think if you stop and think about it, I think we're all probably guilty of that on some level. I know I am. I try to make an effort. First off, I don't give negative reviews because I just don't as a business owner. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I just don't want that karma to come back at me. But if I have that tendency, I'll think of somebody that I didn't leave a good review for, and I'll leave a good review for them. So hold yourself accountable, right? Give great reviews when people really do a great job for you. Make sure you go and visit either their Google or their social media and leave a review. People will go and read those reviews. Who do we do business with, right? We are typically doing business with people that we like, know, and trust. And so if I don't know you and I'm looking for a product and you happen to have my product, then I'm going to look at your reviews to see what people are saying. As I mentioned earlier, as I'm looking at hotels in an area I don't know, I'm reading all the reviews. I'm seeing what other people wrote. And if there aren't enough reviews, I'm going somewhere where I see a lot of positive reviews. So I know a lot of times it might be a little uncomfortable to ask your clients or your past customers for reviews, but I encourage you and challenge you to get into the habit of asking them. And then you can put those on your website. They'll be on Facebook or LinkedIn or Google or wherever they leave the review. But then it gives people an opportunity to see more about your business and not just what you're saying about it, because of course you're going to have a lot of positive things to say about your service or your product, but it's showing what other people are saying about you. So if they don't have enough reviews, they may not buy your product. So you want to make sure that you do that. 9 out of 10 consumers actually read reviews before they purchase. So that's 90%, right? So that's a whole lot of reviews. But I'm sure you're curious. So Deanna, so what are the 2 reasons why people will buy anything? Like, that's what I want to know, right? Okay, I hear you. I know that, these might be some things why they won't buy. Okay, so hopefully you've got a couple little tips of things you can do to tweak and make it better. But just tell me, get to the good stuff, right? What's the reason that people will buy absolutely anything? So it's probably not as earth-shattering as you might think. In fact, you probably already know this, to be honest with you. But the 2 reasons that people will buy anything, right? The first one is to avoid a pain. So a lot of times, if I'm working with you as one of on your marketing plan, right? And you'll hear me say, make sure that you connect and that you understand what the pain is. If you're running an ad on Facebook or even creating a post on Facebook, I always say to start and connect with the client, connect with the person who's viewing it, right? Make them know that you understand the pain, because people will buy to avoid a pain and to gain pleasure. Those are the only 2 reasons that they will buy absolutely anything. Every single decision we make is based around those 2 things, right? We base our decisions on emotion. Everything from what we are going to eat to what we are going to wear, to what we're going to purchase, to you name it, right? Every single decision that we make is based around emotion. And these are the two biggest remote emotions that we have, right? Pain and pleasure. This is the basis of how we make every single decision of what we're going to buy. They actually, they had a study where there were people who actually had a traumatic accident and were not able to feel any emotion. Like the part of the brain that controls emotion was damaged, and they could not make any decision, not even what they wanted to eat. So every single decision is based off of these two things. So now you want to know, what do you do with this? So if I know everybody they're making a decision on pain or pleasure, so now what? So I just want to share real quick before I go into the steps of selling 3 types of consumers, because I think you need to have these in mind. And I think we've all been these type of consumers, right? But when you understand what the consumer is, and then you understand the pain and pleasure, it's going to help you tweak what you say or how you promote something. The first type of consumer, right? They know they have a problem and they're eager to find a solution. So, there's an issue there, right? You need this product. I need a hotel right now. I need a hotel. So I just need somebody who is going to give me a hotel, and my solution, it has to fit certain things, right? It's the location, it's the price, and it's what amenities are in it. So I have a problem, I'm eager to find a solution. That's a great consumer to have, because obviously they already recognize their problem. Now, if they come in with a problem and if you just listen to what they're saying and what their problem is, and then give them the solution, it's a really easy sale. If you try to continue to dig, and digging is good, right? But you kind of have to know, but if you dig too much, you may deter them. So this person already knows they need something, they just want the solution. The second one is they're somewhat aware of a problem and they're not really sure how to fix it. It's not a priority, right? So how many people have had, and the first thing that comes to mind is a cell phone. How many people have had a cell phone? The screen's cracked. Yeah, I can't always see everything, but don't really need a new cell phone right now. Maybe I will. It's not really a big priority. If I come across something I really like, then yeah, maybe I'll pull the trigger. And if I don't, I'm perfectly okay with it. I can see through that crack, right? So that's the second type of consumer. Now, this one you might dig a little bit deeper, right? You might hit those pain points a little bit more and focus in on the pain, but then also their solution, which would give them pleasure. So the conversation might look a little bit different with that consumer. The last one is they aren't even aware they have a problem, right? They have no clue that there's already a problem. They're totally fine with exactly where they are right now, and it's working for them. Even though you might know that there's a better solution, you might know that there's something that would make them a little bit better. They don't know. Now, this person might be a little bit of a tougher sell because their pain points aren't really there. So by asking, in this sense, by asking the right questions, and digging and continuing to ask questions, it'll take you longer, but you'll start to uncover those pains. And then that's when you can go back and provide the solution, which would give them pleasure. So now what do we do with all this, Deanna? Okay, how do I use this information and make it work for me? So I'm going to talk about a product we're probably all familiar with, right? Let's talk about mascara. And how do people promote mascara, right? Simple product. Makeup, the beauty industry is a huge industry. But if a company who has mascara, put instant definition, right? Here's our mascara, you're going to have instant definition. You might buy it. You may not, but if somebody puts in bold letters 4 times longer lashes, chances are good that you're going to pull the trigger, especially if you have naturally short lashes. Even though the manufacturer of this mascara knows that instant definition equals, maybe it actually equals like 6 times longer lashes, right? Maybe it actually equals more than what you want, but the consumer doesn't know that. So they may just see instant definition as just a basic mascara, where if you put 4 times longer lash, now this tells exactly, you're speaking to the person who has thinner, smaller, shorter lashes, and they may not realize they need it. So the instant definition is a feature of the mascara. The benefit is that you get 4 times longer lashes. It may do the exact same thing. It's just, how are you promoting it? Is this mascara company promoting it, talking about the feature that it has? Or are they talking the benefits? My bet is, if you're talking the benefits, 4 times longer lashes, if I've got short lashes, I'm going to purchase that mascara, because instant definition, which is the feature, doesn't really, I really don't know what that means. I have absolutely no idea what that means. So, and I'm guessing you guys can probably think of something that was the same. So one thing is that we hear these words, features and benefits. We hear this together all the time. That what are the features and benefits of the product? We need to stop selling the features. People are not buying based off of the feature. They're buying based off of the benefit. Why? Because this is how it gives them pleasure. You're taking away a pain, or you're giving them pleasure by the benefit. The feature doesn't. The feature might be something that you know, maybe something you love. You may not be able to understand, like, you know, this is so great, but I don't understand why people aren't buying it, but they don't know. The feature is something that the product has, and the benefit is the result. People want to know the result when they use this product or this service. What are they going to get? So we have to start separating this when we talk about what we're doing, whether it's a product or a service, right? When we're talking about what we're selling, we need to think in benefits, because again, we want to go back to those pains and pleasures, which are the only 2 reasons that people will buy anything. So the next part is, like, we have to do a little bit of work, because okay, you know, we got this much, but how do I know what the problem is? Like, how do I know what to target? So the very first thing we need to do, this is my little to-do list for you, is if you're struggling with selling your products, if you know, or your service, I keep saying product, but it can be service as well, you need to get back to the basics and do a little bit of work, right? Little soul searching when it comes to it. You know why your product or service is great. You totally get it. And you probably have customers who can tell you why your product is so great, right? But you want to grow that business because not everybody gets it, and you're not sure how to get it. So how to get that to them. So what you want to do is you want to just research who your target audience is. Then you may sit there, and this happens a lot when I'm coaching someone, when I ask, who's your target audience? There's 2 things that happen. One thing is I get the response, well, everybody. Or it's a really, really vague response, right? My target audience, this product or my service can help all these people. That's great, but not so great. I want you to think as far as persona. I want you to not think of a general target, but I want you to think of a persona. Who are you targeting? Come up with one type of person. Now, does that mean that that is the only person that you can sell to? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can sell to a number of people, but you want your brand already speaks to one person. Who is that person? What is that target audience? Is it a woman? Is it a man, right? What area do they live in? Those are all general. How old are they? Those are all general things we already think about, but go a little bit deeper. You know, is this person in college? Do they have small children? Are they empty nesters? Where do they go? What do they do? Where do they hang out? Do they have pets? You know, are they dog lovers? Are they cat lovers? You know, do they, whatever, right? Come up with a persona. Name your persona if you want to. Sometimes some people call it an avatar. Whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter, but come up and research what that person who you're targeting is really, really like. And come up and understand them, know what they're about. And then once you do that, it's going to be so much easier to identify all of their problems. So what are the problems that this particular person is facing, whether it's in their life or business? What are they dealing with? What are those pain points? And, you know, what effect does this have on their everyday life? Dig a little deeper and understand that, and understand, again, how your product or service can fix this, how you can take away their pain and add by providing pleasure. Once you do that, now you want to be able to connect with your audience, right? You want to be able to connect with them because now you understand their pain and you have the solution that will take that pain away. So you want to be able to speak to them in that tone. And you want to get emotional. I mentioned earlier that every single decision that we make is based in emotion, right? So if everything we're doing is based on emotion, we want to get emotional. So there is, and again, I talk a lot about your brain and how it works because although some may find it really, really boring and I find it really interesting, I think backing things up with science, this is not me just throwing some words in my opinion on a slide and sharing it with you. I want to be able to share the science behind it so that you get it and that you're able to apply it in different ways in your life. So have you guys ever found yourself watching a video maybe on Facebook or YouTube, wherever, and you're watching a video and you find yourself getting emotional? Maybe you're crying, right? Or maybe you're cracking up laughing, or maybe you're scared. And I always use the ones when those in the military come home and their family greets them and their children greets them. I will bawl at every single one of them. I find myself crying. I'm not in the military. I don't have immediate family in the military. So why do I cry, right? The reason that I'm crying is because when you watch a video, you watch a movie, you read a book, you read a post, what's happening is that we are all putting ourselves in that person's position. So the same parts of our brain that activates when we are experiencing it is the same part that happens when we're watching it or reading it. So we feel that connection. That's why advertisers, marketers are always pulling at our heartstrings. They're using emotion, right? They're using emotion to connect with us because that's how we make our decisions. So I'm asking you to get emotional when you come up with how your product or your service solves their problems. I want you to think of a way that you can get emotional with it and connect with your audience. I'm going to go back to this mascara. We're going to use this mascara, right? You want to understand what the why is, because the why people are using this is so important. It has nothing to do with the feature. It's the why behind it. So why does somebody want lashes that are 4 times longer, right? Why? Why would anybody want those lashes? I mean, I would love those lashes, but why do people buy it? Why is that so important? So if it's a single woman, they may be buying, they want this longer lashes, these 4 times longer lashes, because they believe it's going to attract a guy, right? Maybe you want it because you know if you've got these amazing, gorgeous lashes, then your friends are going to be envious of you because your lashes look just totally hit, right? So maybe it's because you want your friends to be envious. Maybe it just gives you more confidence. Maybe having these longer lashes makes you feel sexier, makes you feel more confident. That's the why. That's the pleasure. That's the reason that people are purchasing. So when you're talking about your product or service and you're identifying your target that you're talking to and their pain is, understand what their why is. Why would they want to do this? Why, right? So this mascara gives you a good example. If you've ever bought 4 times longer lashes, then you can totally relate, because I buy it. So now we're going to talk about the 6 emotions that make consumers buy. So there's 6 of them, right? And the first one is greed. We buy out of greed. Now, fear. And I think right now with the coronavirus and no toilet paper, and some of you may laugh, it's kind of funny, right? But it's not. But everybody's buying toilet paper and stocking up in case they're quarantined, and buying everything, bottled water, you name it. So they may buy out of fear, altruism, envy, pride, and shame. So these are the reasons that consumers are going to buy. Now, the best marketers focus on altruism and pride. And the reason they do that is because of these 2 promote happiness. Now, right now, you might see a little bit shift because of everything that's going on. So, but these are the reasons that people buy. And again, right, they're removing a pain and gaining a pleasure. So the bottom line is, guys, if you want to increase your sales and boost your sales, sell the problem you solve, not the product. So I'm going to open it up for questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to pause the recording. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Growing Your Email. When this grows, everything grows. I am Deanna Hins, and we're going to be talking about email today. I am a huge advocate for email. Now, I'll be honest with you, there was a time when all my emails went on the back burner, and I didn't do much with it. But that's changed, and I'm going to share with you exactly why that changed. So, to start with, email is nearly 40 times more effective than Facebook and Twitter combined in helping businesses acquire new customers. So a couple years ago, I heard a statement similar to this, right? I heard a statement saying that it's really effective. But I'll be honest with you, I kind of just pushed it to the side because I was doing so much on social media and it was working. And I was like, you know what? Social media is working. I don't have time to add another component to my already overwhelming to-do list. So I'm not going to really do email. I'm not going to really focus on email because I'm going to stay with social media. And then social media went down a couple times, right? Facebook went down, Instagram went down, and it hit me. What if it went down and didn't come back up? What would I do? So I decided to do my own personal little study. So I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit, right? So I kind of panicked, and this is probably just a year ago. It might be a year and a half now that I did my personal study. And the first thing I did is, I realized that social media, as great as it is, or how often we use it, how little we use it, right? Social media is here. And it is a force to be reckoned with. Everybody, pretty much everybody in the world is on some platform or another. So social media is really big, and it's a great way to connect with other people. But a question that I ask often is, if you, and let's just say Facebook, since that's the people's platform and that's the platform that the majority of people are actively on, if Facebook would go down right now while you're sitting on this webinar, if you got off at when this was over and you went back and you noticed Facebook was down, you might have thought, okay, maybe a glitch, right? But what if tomorrow it's still down? And next week it's still down? And then a month from now it's still down? Would the people who are your current followers and fans on your social media page know how to find you? Usually that's a no. A lot of times they may not even remember your business name. They might remember what you sell, but they may forget the name of the product or the business. Next question I ask is, would you be able to find all of those people that currently follow you? Would you be able to reach them? That is always a consistently no. There's no way, not unless you just started your business page and the only ones who follow you are friends and family, then maybe you will. But then you have to do a lot of work to actually grow that business too. So chances are really good you have no way of reaching them. Social media is rented space. You want to be able to own your space. And that's what email does. So what I did when this all hit me and I realized, well, I am building my business on rented space. And at any time outside of my control, any of these platforms can go down. And then what? Yeah, I have a website, sure. But will people find it? Probably not. Would I be able to reach those people? No, absolutely not. So how powerful is this email? How powerful is it really? Yes, I believe, I get the emails just like everybody else, and my inbox is overflowing, and my doubts were probably similar to what you're thinking too. How not many people read my emails, and they're just going to end up in junk. Does it really work? I really couldn't tell you. If I was talking to you a year and a half ago, I could probably spit out some facts, but I couldn't tell you from personal experience if it worked or didn't work. So I wanted to be able to do that. Everything I do, when I'm talking or training or coaching or speaking, I will always throw in my other studies and share personal information of what I encountered, because it's more than me just looking up facts and just throwing them at you, right? I want to tell you what I've experienced and what I did, and hopefully encourage you to do your own study. Don't take everything I say at face value, because I've got different followers. Do your own. Test it. Challenge everything. There's so much fake stuff out there on Facebook and on the internet in general, right? And we don't know what to believe and not to believe. Always test it yourself. So I did my own study. I'm like, I'm going to test this and just see if what they're saying is real or if it's just fluff. So about a year and a half ago, I committed myself to creating emails once a week, which was really hard to do in the beginning, right? So if you don't have to do it once a week, you can do once a month, you can do every other week, you can do once a week, you can do every day if you are really motivated, right? Whatever you can do. So I made a commitment to send out emails and see what happens. I will tell you that it got to the point that I knew if I sent out an email, every email that I sent out, guarantee, now of course it can always change, but I would always get 3 people to call me to set up a discovery session. And more times than not, most of them closed. Not everyone, that'd be amazing if everyone closed, but the majority of them closed. So I knew every time I sent out an email that I had somebody who reached out to me, and that's what I was tracking. Do people read it? And in my study, I found out, yes, people read it, and they may not read everything. Okay, so a lot of times I go, well, I have a small open rate. I don't have a really big open rate. That's okay. Because most industries, if you have a 30% open rate, which means the percentage of people that actually open your email is only 30%. 30% is a super, super low number with a lot of things. But when it comes to email, that's a great number. 30% is really, really good. So I found out that email works for me. And I wanted to learn more about it, and I wanted to share more about it, because this tool that used to be really cool then kind of got shadowed by social media is actually a really powerful tool if people start to use it. So it definitely worked for me. It is the second most used marketing tool after a website. And 49% of consumers say that they want to receive promotional emails from their favorite retailers, right? At least once a week. So we want those. We sign up for them. I know my favorite retailers that I will sign up for because I don't want to miss a sale that they're running. I don't want to miss an event that they're having, right? I want to stay in the loop. If there's something new, if there's like a new fashion or new colors or whatever, new fragrance, I want to know about it. Your consumers want to know about it too. So don't get discouraged thinking that a 30% open rate is too low and they don't read it. Here's what it does do, right? It allows you to connect with your audience on a more personal level, right? Everything we do is emotion-based, it's relationship-based. So they're getting to know you. They're getting to, and it may be you personally, or it may be your brand, depending if you are your brand or if you've got a different product that you're promoting, but they're getting that peek behind what your brand is really about. And they're feeling connected with you by reading the different things that you're writing about. And you're providing them, hopefully in your newsletter, some educational tools too, right? Things that can help them, as well as what your products are. So this is a really great way to connect with them. Even if they don't open those emails, the name of your business is showing up in their inbox, which is brand awareness. So being able to, right, it's so many touches before a consumer actually knows that they need your product. They've always said in sales, when someone sees your business name for the very first time, or your brand's name, they probably pitch it. And this is like the direct mail. Let's go start there because this has been around for a really long time. But if you get something in the mail and it's a direct mail piece, and it has new windows, the first time you see it, you will probably throw it right in the trash. You probably won't even acknowledge it. Let's say on Facebook, right? The first time you see an ad for something, you will probably just keep scrolling and ignore it. The more times you see it, you start to remember it. It's brand awareness. So maybe if somebody comes up in conversation, like that you're talking with a friend over coffee, and they say they need to replace their windows, you might think of that brand. And I believe the number has increased to 11 touches. It was 7 for a lot of years. I believe now that it's 11 touches before someone realizes they need your product, because the world of social media and digital marketing has almost desensitized us to different things because we're getting hit by so many brands all the time. The thing is your name is coming up in their email. So it's a form of brand awareness that is free, absolutely free to do. So building your email list, right? When this grows, everything grows. So how do you grow your email list? How do you get this going? And so many times, like I said, I talk to someone, and the most common response when I ask, is, do you have your email list? It's either, I have an email list, not really doing anything with it, but I have the list, or no, I don't have a list at all. And I know I need to do it, but I haven't done it yet. Those are the two most common. I get excited when I hear someone say, yes, I have a list and I'm absolutely working it. And then I will go into like automated campaigns and all this other really cool stuff that you can do with your email list. But we're just going to talk about growing it, because when this grows, when your email list grows, guys, everything grows. Now you have that one-on-one personal connection with your consumer. So there's two types of lists. There's a good list and then there's a bad list, right? So what's a good list? The good list is that people actually give you consent to send them an email. Now, I know this might sound crazy and you're like, well, of course that's a good list. But you want to make sure that people say, yes, it's okay to send me something. There are bad lists, and there are a lot of bad lists going around, right? So what a bad list is people don't give you permission to email them. What that is you may have a very old list and you just start emailing them, or you may have contacts from somewhere, but they've never given you permission. Maybe a friend gave you a bunch of contacts, but the person hasn't given you the permission to email them, and you just start emailing them. That's a bad list. You don't want to do that. There are actually companies out there. This part makes me cringe, guys, every time I share this, because I believe that doing things authentically is the best way. And sometimes when you do things authentically, it takes longer. It's not as much of a quick fix, or, I mean, we don't get that immediate gratification because it just takes a little longer to grow and nurture. So I'm not a fan of this, but there are companies who actually sell you an email list. And what they say is that, well, what will happen is I'll sell you this list, and maybe they're not all your clients or your ideal clients, but it'll get scrubbed, and then you'll end up with, the people who are really interested in your product. Well, here's the reality. The reality is that it typically has a really high percentage of being bad and not even your ideal client. So now, if you're using a platform like MailChimp or Constant Contact, I am a partner with Constant Contact, so that's the platform that I use. But if you use this purchased email list or an email list that you don't have, and a lot of people report it as spam because they did not give you permission to send an email list, you can actually get blacklisted so that you're not able to email anyone. So it's not worth it in the end, guys. Do it authentically, get permission, have them sign up, and then grow your email list. And here's the thing, it may be small, but small and targeted, a group of people who are saying, yes, I'm absolutely interested in what you're selling, is better than having a large list of people who don't even really know what you're about, nor do they care. They just might be in there, and it's not targeted. So do it the right way, right? So your next question is probably, okay, Deanna, all right, I hear what you're saying, but how do I get people to say it's okay for me to send an email to them? Like, what do I do? Great question, guys. First thing is ask for it. I know it sounds so simple and so crazy, but seriously, so many times people are not asking for someone's email. They're just letting it go. They're not thinking about it, right? They don't have anything set up to start collecting this email because they feel weird about asking for it. So there's nothing wrong with this. This is another call to action. Sometimes if you're doing your marketing, maybe on Facebook or social media, right, we talk about always having a call to action, and that call to action may not always be to buy the product. Sometimes it might be sign up for my email. And that's a great call to action, because at that point, people know you, they know you, they want to get to know you more, and maybe they haven't pulled the trigger on your product yet, but this is a way for them to get to know you a little bit more. Now you can nurture those relationships. So there's a few ways of actually asking for it. One way is email or website sign up. So you can sign up on through the website, right? If you have a website, you want to make sure that there is a place that people can actually sign up for your email. So whether that's, sometimes they have it in the footer, sometimes it's at the top, it's up to you. Sometimes they do a pop-up. On my site, I actually have a pop-up and I have it in the footer. You can do a pop-up. A lot of times when you do a pop-up, and what a pop-up is if I go to your website, after I get to your website, I'm going to have a pop-up, something that actually pops up on the screen, and it asks to sign up for, asks if you will sign up for my newsletter. And you can either say yes or no, but it gives you all the information to do it. Now, a lot of times when there is a pop-up like that, what it actually is it's a lead magnet. So in the case of my website, and a lot of them that you probably have come across, what you'll see is I'm asking you for a trade-off. What I'm saying, if you visit my site, I'm going to say, you're going to see a pop-up and it will say, hey, pretty much, let's make a deal. I want to give you a ton of information. I want to give you some free tips. I want to be able to share with you all the really cool things that I'm learning if you sign up for my newsletter. And if you sign up right now, I'm going to email you. The very first email you're going to get is actually this downloadable of how to create your own social media strategy. It's a 30-day plan, right? So that's a trade-off. I'm going to give you something free in exchange for your email. So this is what a lot of people do with a lead magnet. It is a great way to accumulate emails, and it doesn't have to be a downloadable. A lot of times they are. It's something you can download. It could be a checklist. It can be a to-do list. It can be just information, an ebook. It can also be a video. It can be a video about how to use your products. If you are selling, maybe you're doing restoration and you sell some paints, it may be a tutorial on how to effectively use these paints, or some really cool things that they can do with the paint after they purchase it, or even before they purchase it. Maybe this will inspire them to purchase those paint, right? So you can be a video. It can be a coupon, a discount of some sort. You can say, hey, sign up for this and you'll get, buy one half, get one half off. It can be a number of things, and discounts are real popular, right? And if you're shopping on any retailer site, a lot of times their website pop-up will come up and it will say, if you sign up right now, like for our newsletter, save $25 off your first purchase. This is called a lead magnet. It's a great way to accumulate emails. Another way that you can do it is right on your social media page. So a lot of the platforms, there's a lot of third-party platforms. I'm going to talk about Constant Contact since I'm a partner, but there are other ones out there, obviously. And what the majority of them do, I think all of them do this actually, is that they will link up with your social media page, your Facebook page, and it will create another tab to make it easy for people who are on social media to actually sign up for your newsletter right from Facebook, right? So all they have to do is click the tab and sign up and they're in. Now, if you really are, if 1 month you're like, maybe after this, right? Maybe it's April, your vision is, you know what, Deanna, I am going to work really hard on getting people to sign up so I can really grow this email database and nurture them. So by the time the holidays come, which seems really far away right now, but it's really, really not. By the time the holidays come, I'm going to have this badass email list that I can totally target people and sell my product, promote my product. But for April, I'm going to really promote that I want them to start signing up. So you can change the cover banner of your Facebook page, and in there put something with a little arrow dropping down to the button, or promoting, right? Sign up for my newsletter, change it, promote it, talk about it. But you can actually connect it to your social media, whether it's Facebook, on Instagram now. If you are a business on Instagram, you have an opportunity to actually put one of the buttons as your email. So it makes it really easy for people to email you. LinkedIn is the same thing. There's a place for you to find the email address. Well, you can't sign up for a newsletter on LinkedIn, but you can find that email or direct a website link right to your lead magnet, which you can make a landing page. So what's a landing page? A landing page is, I kind of explained what this lead magnet does. You can make a landing page where when they go to this page, it will actually have all the information of signing up for your newsletter right there with the exchange of whatever you're promoting, right? Your downloadable, your video, your coupon, whatever it is, your freebie, whatever you want to put on there. So your social media page is another really cool place to do it. Your email signature, right? How many emails do we all send out every day? We send out a lot of emails. Put it right in your email signature. Hey, sign up for this and get this, right? Or just the URL to that lead, your landing page where you have your lead magnet. So you can put it right there in your email signature so that people can sign up there. And then in events, right? So if you're having an event, if you are, whether it is in person or online, when you guys signed up for this event, you were automatically added to my email. If I have an event outside where it's not online, but it's in person, I have a sign-up sheet to see if they are interested in getting my newsletter. And when they sign up, they're giving me permission to email them. So whether if you're having an event, if it's online or in person, that is another way to get it. So These are a lot of different ways that you can actually start building that email list or improve on the email list that you currently have. And it really is just a matter of asking for it, but a number of different ways. And I'm sure you guys can even think of more ways, really cool, fun ways to ask for it too. But here's a starting point for you guys. So now that you have your email list, right? You want to grow your email list. You want people to keep signing up. So how do you do that? How do you get them to keep signing? You've already asked them. Now I want to grow it a little bit more. You know, I did all this stuff. I'm doing all this stuff, Deanna, that you're saying, but what do I need to do? Well, the first thing that you need to do is you have to create amazing content. So your email, when you have this, and I should say first, get consistent. I should have included that on here. Excuse me. But I want you to come up with a strategy first of how you can be consistent in scheduling this. If you can only commit to once a month sending out a newsletter, then just do it once a month. Don't listen to everybody who says you need to do this on 3 days a week or once a week or whatever. Sure, there are things that are recommended that you should do to have the best result. Initially, you should be sending out emails quite a bit in the beginning to continue to grow it and nurture those relationships. But if you can't commit to that, don't commit to this. Do what works for you. And this is across the board with everything you do in digital marketing. Do what works best for you of what you can commit to. If you don't, you're going to get overwhelmed and then you're going to quit. And that's not good. So start one place and then work your way up to another. So once you find that level that you can commit, you want to start creating these newsletters. And you have to have amazing content in there. You want to give them a reason to open up that email and read it. You want to get them to the point that after they do read it, they look forward to the next one because you are providing them value. You're giving them something that they really can use. And of course, this is your target, right? So these are the people who are really interested. So educate them, share with them with, you know, spring's around the corner. Here's the new spring line, sneak peek, you get it first, right? Give them a reason that they want to open that email and read it. And you want to give them a reason to encourage other people to share, right? So that they can say, you need to sign up for this newsletter. I sign up for it. We get a sneak peek. So we are the first ones that get to see what's coming out for the season. We are able to purchase that before anybody else can purchase it because we're part of it. So if you want to be the first one to get on board, then you should sign up, right? So great, easy idea. Super easy idea. There are bands out there. If you are in the music industry, a lot of bands do this. Their email subscribers actually get the first peek of when their tour is coming out, and they get to purchase tickets before anybody else, before it goes public. So you get the preview, right? And it's cool because you want to sign up. So you may not always read everything, but when you hear tours coming and you get the special to purchase tickets first, you want to be part of that. So give them a reason to encourage subscribers to share what you're posting. Create a lead gen. And I talked about this a little bit already, but you can definitely create like a lead gen. You can use this by encouraging subscribers to sign up. One lead gen I didn't talk about that I think is pretty cool. It's text. It has worked great for me. Through Constant Contact, I have the ability to actually, if you text, gosh, I'm going to forget the text number. I think it's 22822, and text Sassy Girl to that number, and I may be wrong, so if it doesn't work, my apologies. But if you text that, you are going to get a text message back from me, and it's going to ask if you want to sign up, and then you're going to get an email with my freebie, my downloadable freebie. And it's really, really easy because now they don't have to actually visit my website to do it. I'm saving them a step because we want to take as little steps as possible, right? We don't want to take a lot of steps to close a sale, and getting somebody to sign up for your email in the sense is a sale. So you want to make it as easy as possible. Texting, we all have our mobile phones on us. You can text that number. I've had lunch with people and I've told them, they're like, what's the number? I've shared it, they've texted it, and they've got their downloadable. Super, super easy. And then I have their email and I can continue nurturing that relationship. So lead gens are another way. You can also do things like creating in your email list, creating bonus content. So I kind of talked about that already just a little bit when I talked about getting the first, the sneak peeks, right? That's bonus content. You're getting to purchase something earlier, right? Or you get to see what the spring line is going to look like. That's bonus content. Or maybe if you sign up, maybe you get this video that I'm doing right now for free just for being part of it. Whatever you want to give them a value that nobody else will get, but as a thank you, this is a great way to promote that. So you can send them bonus content. So we want to create some compelling emails, and the most important thing when you're creating an email is you want to have a killer subject line. Because guys, let's face it, like we said when I first started this, we're all getting bombarded with emails. And a lot of times we do just delete that email, right? We see it, we delete it. It doesn't seem like it's anything that would interest us. But if it has a killer subject line, we'll open it. Have you ever opened your email and you saw something and it's from maybe somebody you have gotten emails from, but you haven't opened them before, and then all of a sudden there's this really killer subject line and you open it because you're curious what it means? I did this once, and it was for an event that I was having, and the subject line, this is the best one that I had so far during this time when I was testing it, was the day before the event. All I put in my subject is, will I see you tomorrow? That's it. My open rate was huge for that one because of course people were like, see you where? Where are we going to see you? They opened it and then they saw the event, and it was kind of cool to see, because when you on your email, your third-party email database, you can see who opened your emails, you can see who has clicked on anything. So I was able to see how many people opened it, how many more people opened it, and then how many of those people actually clicked on the link to learn more about the event. So you're able to see in real time what is going on with this email, what's working and what's not working. But having a killer subject line is really important. Couple tips you can do on what this killer subject line, because let's face it, right? We are all thinking and trying to be creative, and sometimes our brain is just fried and you're like, okay, Deanna, how do I create this killer subject line? Like, what do I even put in there? Because I see the content and I can do that, but is that really a killer subject line? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, right? And it's trial and error, guys. Like, you have to see what your audience responds to, and you'll start to learn their behaviors. But one thing is create a sense of urgency. Listen, this is closing, urgent, like it's closing soon. So if you want to get on board, join now, be part of this now. The sale is ending, so, take advantage of it. You can personalize it, right? Have you gotten the subject lines where your name is in the subject? It makes it really personal. And even then, and I did put this on here, but even using emojis sometimes, depending what your business is. Depends what your business is, if you want to do the route of emojis or not, that's a judgment call you have to make. But when you personalize it and use emojis, it makes you more human. So it actually makes you a little bit more likable, because people like hearing their name. So when they see their name in there and you're using their name, there's actually something that happens that makes that connection start. So by personalizing it, that's another really good way to create a killer subject line. Pique their curiosity, right? So my subject line saying, will I see you tomorrow? That piques their curiosity. Like, what is this about? Or, hey, this is going away soon. Well, what's going away soon, right? So put something in there that'll pique their curiosity, that they're going to want to take a look and see what's going on. Create an offer, which is common, right? Because I'm sure you guys get them too from all the retailers that I follow and buy from. BOGO, this week only, right? Every holiday, don't we get Memorial Day sale, Memorial Day savings, right? There's an offer. Buy now and save this much. Might sound silly. It might sound kind of like, oh, we're so sick of hearing all this stuff. But I could tell you, if someone's been on the fence about your product and buying it, sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes they see the sale like, okay, now's the time to buy. I want to take advantage of this offer. Never make false promises, right? So if you say something, make sure that you really mean it. Like, be legit. We talked about keeping things authentic. So don't put something in put something in your subject line that really isn't what it is. Like, don't make stuff up. And I'm sure you guys all know that, but it's kind of surprising how many times people will put something in there that is just false. You want to try to keep it short too. Short and sweet, right? Now, the rule of thumb is 50 characters. Again, I kind of mentioned this a little bit ago, saying you're going to hear a lot of rule of thumbs. You're going to hear a lot of people say, you know, what to do, what not to do. Do what works best for you and your audience. The rule of thumb here is 50 characters. If you find that, I keep mine as short as I could possibly keep it, but if you find that your audience goes with more characters, then cool. If it works for you, then great. Let it work for you, right? Throw the rule out. But this is just a guideline. You want your subject line to be short and sweet. If you have with your company, right, don't use the no reply at company.com. The no reply is just not good to use for this. And the reason is, this is where you are nurturing that relationship. No reply is great if you just ship something and you don't want somebody to reply to you. But if you have that in your emails, if this is an email that you use, no reply for some what's operational, that's the word I'm thinking of, some operational reasons, that's great, but don't use it for your email list. Use something that is a little bit different for your email list. And time it right. Again, this is something else that you're going to see, that people are going to tell you the very best time and the very worst time to send out newsletters. And it's going to vary. In fact, every industry actually has a different time that actually works best for them. I know when it comes to consulting and coaching, I know the day and the time that's typically better for me. I know what the average says. I also pay attention to my analytics, which I encourage you to do. Pay attention to when people are opening up your newsletter or your email, and go by that. Look at what time they're mainly opening it, and then make the decision on the best time and the best day to do that. Typically, Monday mornings, Monday in general, is not a good day to send emails. I will tell you, for me personally, Monday afternoon works for me. And I was a no Monday type of girl, because I read Mondays are the worst day, and I've heard it over and over and over and over again. I have never found anybody who has said that Monday is a good time to send an email. But Monday afternoon, my open rates are higher. I don't know why, nor do I care right now, but I've learned that from watching my analytics. So do what's best for you, what makes the most sense, right? And if you want to avoid Mondays, then avoid Mondays. It's not a problem. You know, find what works best for you and time it right, so that those emails are going out at the right time, so that you're going to have more of an open rate. Okay, so there's a few tips here, right? Talk to me. And so the reason I write this is because I have received emails, and I've worked with people, and when they first start to talk about, when they first start sending an email, they're not talking to the actual subscriber, they're talking to the group. So what I mean by that is, they may write the email saying, thank you guys for doing this. I hope you all are, right? And the reality is, you're only talking to one person. It's only that one person. It's Sue or Jim who's opening that email. It's not a group. So be aware of how you're writing this, right? And speak just to that person. Don't waste people's time, right? Don't put things in there that they really don't care about. Bring them value. Be authentic. Use your voice. And what I mean by that, when I say use your voice, talk to them. Now, again, there may be some industries where you can't do this. So I know there's exceptions to every single rule that I say. Um, and I get that. But if you are your brand or you're able to speak in your voice, if you guys are getting my emails, I talk the exact same way that you're reading that. If you say y'all, like use your voice, let people really get to know who you are. Again, if it doesn't fit your business, then don't do it. If it's something different, you have to be a little bit more professional and polished, then don't do it. But I am my own brand, so I'm able to. And a lot of entrepreneurs are their own brand and they are able to use their own voice. So use your own voice, be authentic in who you are. And again, use their name, right? And I explained why to use their name, but don't use their name so much in the newsletter that it ends up being creepy. You know what I'm talking about, right? Use it in the subject line, maybe the intro, but sometimes people get carried away by using the name because they're like, oh, this is a way to build that personal connection. It's great. So more is better, right? No, more is not better in this case. So use it in a way that it's not creepy, but it does nurture that relationship. Be a friend, get to know them, right? This is the way that you're able to nurture this relationship, and it's more of a one-on-one. So talk to them the way you would be talking to them if they were sitting in front of you, right? Tell them about whether it's a new product you have or some new tips or tools that you've learned, share it with them. And always have some sort of call to action in your email, right? Ask them to do something. Maybe it is download this freebie. Maybe it is sign up for your event. Maybe it is buy this product. It can be a number of things, right? It doesn't have to always equal as far as, like I said, if it's, hey, download this freebie, that's something for them, but that's your call to action. Because now you can see who's downloading it. You can see who has an interest in that freebie, right? Now, and this is a whole other session, but once they click on that, you can actually create a whole new list of an email campaign that targets them because you know they're interested in that. So email is really flipping amazing. And the deeper you get, this is like the first level stuff, but there you can go so much deeper and really put some cool systems in place that are all automated that take some time to set up in the beginning, but it is great when it's all done. So we're going to talk about some harsh truths real quick, right? And then we'll go to Q&A. The harsh truth, guys, your inbox is overflowing, right? We have a ton of people who already are in our inbox. We are in a lot of, so we have to find a way to stand out. That subject line is a way that we can stand out. So you want to make sure, you're doing something because the inbox is overflowing. Absolutely. So if people opt in, don't take that for granted. If somebody signs up for your email list, it's not just another person that signed up, right? That's awesome. That's like another potential sale. That's somebody who's saying, I'm interested in what you have to say. I always feel honored when I see somebody signed up for my list, or I look at the names that have signed up after something that a promo of some sort that I ran. I am so grateful for that. Don't take those people for granted. Bring them value, give them what they asked for. On the flip, if somebody unsubscribes to your email, I used to get so upset, right? If they unsubscribed because I felt like, oh no, I'm not providing them what they need, or what's wrong with them, right? Why aren't they signing up for my email? Why are they unsubscribing? The reality is it's totally cool because for whatever reason, maybe they moved, maybe things changed in their life, maybe they're just not interested. Maybe it just doesn't fit their needs. It doesn't, solve a solution for them anymore. That's one less person on your email list. That's okay. Don't take it so personal. That was really hard for me to grasp in the beginning because I take everything really personal. So yeah, it's okay. Each week, remember, each week you need to prove yourself to your subscriber. This goes back to don't take them for granted. Bring them value. Bring them something that they're happy that they signed up for your email, right? So bring them value and let them get to know you. Let them get to know who you are, because while you do that, you're going to start to build trust, grow these relationships, and you're going to gain loyalty. So by starting these emails, right, this is what you're going to do. And people who trust you, know you, and who are loyal to you are going to purchase from you. So guys, if you are not doing an email list right now, I encourage you, so I'm going to put 2 slides in here. I encourage you to do that. Definitely do that. Email's here to stay. So many apps and tools have come and gone, right? But email continues to grow. It is not going anywhere. We can live without Facebook. We cannot live without our email. So it's something we're taking for granted, but it's something that can totally shift our business. So I'm going to open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to pause this.